Hello and welcome back. I'm Martin from Pimax. You may have seen the Pimax Frontier announcement event just recently. Well, here's a follow-up and it's going to be a very exciting one. The pre-orders of the Crystal Light has already begun, and today I'm happy to share with you my first impressions and test results of the pre-production sample of the Pimax Crystal Light. I'll show you how it looks, how it feels, how it performs, and try to give you a hint of if this could be your next PC VR headset to settle for. While this still is a pre-production unit, with some components such as the housing and the minor design changes still being tweaked on, it is in fact a fully working sample with all features of Crystal Light already built in and operational. So it's not a beta product or some kind of prototype. Now, we won't do a full unboxing here since the box and its content might slightly change upon release, so let's better get right into the lineup of specifications and then move over to my first impressions. As you may know, Pimax recently published its latest Frontier show full of product announcements for 2024. The big surprise announcement of the day was the Crystal Light, with pre-orders going live immediately and expected first shipments already planned for the end of May 2024. So what is Crystal Light? Well, in short, Crystal Light is a slightly stripped down Pimax crystal made to be a true PC VR only HMD aimed for all VR gamers and simulator fans, but for a significantly lower price. It's a headset for everyone that prefers PC VR gaming over standalone gaming, currently maybe using an HP Reverb headset, a Valve Index or a HTC Vive Pro. It's a headset that delivers ultra high resolution and optimal image clarity and quality thanks to the same advanced optics and QLED panels as the flagship Pimax Crystal already does, but without certain features that for many people were not even necessary or useful. Pimax wants to deliver a high-end VR experience to the masses for a reasonable and competing price. With an MSRP of $699 for the base Crystal Light model and $899 for the version with local dimming feature, the crystal clear experience is now affordable not only for VR enthusiasts or pilots and professionals, but also casual VR gamers. Especially since the bundle includes controllers and inside-out tracking, so no need for any accessories such as base stations, apart from your PC of course. But what has been removed then? To be able to deliver a high-end product within such a low price range, eye tracking capability has been removed together with auto IPD feature and the motorized IPD adjustment. The IPD can instead be dialed in manually like on most other HMDs out there today. This also significantly reduced the weight of the headset, which is quite important. Crystal Light also has no AIO mode or standalone mode, which means no Snapdragon XR2 chipset needed, and therefore also no need for battery and no point of active cooling. This approach also led to a much lighter and more well-balanced headset. Due to no built-in Snapdragon chipset, optional WiGig module will not be supported on the Crystal Light. Hand tracking support has also been removed. In fact, both of the USB-C ports has been removed since they are no longer needed. Both versions are bundled with a pair of controllers that utilizes the built-in inside-out tracking feature. Crystal Light will also support the optional Lighthouse faceplate accessory, allowing for full Lighthouse tracking support using base stations. Now, apart from that, all the other features of the Crystal flagship headset are still there on the Crystal Light, such as same dual native 2880 by 2880 QLED panels as Crystal with or without local dimming depending on model you choose, a pair of crystal clear 35 ppd aspheric glass lenses, the same field of view as with Crystal both horizontally and vertically. Also, Crystal Light will support refresh rates of 60, 72, 90 and 120 Hz at native resolution and maximum field of view. IPD adjustment between 58 and 72 millimeters, although manual adjustment, full Pimax PC client support with all features such as customization, smart smoothing, fixed foveated rendering, frame rate lock, and you name it. Crystal Light is just like the Crystal, fully compatible with Steam VR and Oculus games, simulators, and OpenVR and OpenXR renders and plugins such as Pimax XR and the OpenXR toolkit. Lastly, Crystal Light has replaceable speakers bundled with SMAS speakers. The built-in 3.5mm jack is available on both models for use of alternative headphones or earplugs. Worth to mention is that DMAS speakers are available to purchase separately from the Pimax store, so you can do that later on. Now, let's get to the fun part. I have the Crystal Light in front of me here. Well, actually I have two Crystal Lights here, both versions. Anyway, I've been playing around with these two for almost a week now. And spoiler alert, it's a pretty dang awesome headset. But before we get to my impressions, let's just have a quick look at the pre-production sample more in detail. As far as I can tell, Crystal Light uses the same housing material and finish as the Crystal. The Comfort Kit face foam is reused here, same as the plastic eye relief, identical back and side foams, as well as the nose flap, which I find very good for blocking out light. Obviously, since the headset don't use battery power, the rubber top strap was removed. Instead, we now have a wide, adjustable and comfortable headband. I was informed though that the headband is not final version on these units and it will get further improved upon final version. At the backside we see the same adjustable audio strap here, apart from the lack of battery compartment of course. The proximity sensor or the awareness sensor, well, the one over here is there and it works as before, detecting if headset is in use and turning off the panels when the headset is not used. There is no longer a switch for PCVR or AIO mode anymore, of course. Remember, this is a pre-production unit. In the final product samples, the hole for the switch will be gone. It's not gone here. The power and volume buttons are identical to Crystal, although the motorized IPD buttons are removed, or well, will be removed in the final version. The two microphones on the bottom are the same as the Crystal, and as you can tell, the bottom USB-C port is now gone. The micro HDMI input on top is also removed, since Crystal Light does not support the upcoming wireless 60G Airlink module. Now let's have a look at the front cover, which is easily detachable and replaceable. Inside we have a connector that allows for optional accessories such as the Lighthouse faceplate accessory to enable Lighthouse tracking with base stations and compatible controllers. Well, the design underneath the front cover will probably change a little bit, but we can already tell there will be no active cooling with fans since it's no longer needed. And I also heard that even the heat sinks are gone now because it's really not needed. It has been tested and it's proven. I can testify that the headset never really gets warmer than usual, probably because the passive cooling, whatever it is without heat sinks, is sufficient enough for the QLED panels to stay relatively cold. We also see the same 4 cameras on the front used for the inside-out tracking of the headset and the bundled controllers which are included when you purchase the Pimax Crystal Light. The recently released Crystal feature that adds a see-through or a pass-through monochrome view is working just as well as the Crystal Light with the cameras. It's enabled by tapping twice or knocking twice on the headset, but you can also assign a keyboard shortcut or a hotkey for that. Crystal Light is using a new proprietary cable with DisplayPort with a single USB 3.0 and a power supply input. So the power is not provided by USB-C port, but from an adapter connected to the power outlet. You may have spotted this already, but the headset does no longer have the short cable adapter on the left side that was there for faster attaching or removing the cable. Obviously, this is a PCVR only headset, so how many times will you ever need to remove that cable, really? If you still need to though, it's almost just as simple as before. Of course, this approach also removed some unnecessary weight of the headset. Lastly, but maybe most importantly, we are looking at the same 35 ppd aspheric glass lenses also used with crystal. These will not be removable though, and these screws for the lens frame you can see here will not be there on the final version of Crystal Light. Alright, so now you have seen it, at least the pre-production version of the Crystal Light, which is currently widely tested in-house right now, finalized and polished before mass production begins. I'm so happy to be here in Shanghai at the Pimax headquarters in the studio room where we actually shot the Pimax Frontier, and I'm here to experience and evaluate this headset and to be the first person to share this information with you. So what do I think of the Pimax Crystal Light, you may ask? Well, I will tell you. Now, you obviously know I work for Pimax since 2019, but you should also know I'm always honest about what I personally think of both our and other companies' products. I have given Pimax so much feedback in the past, so many suggestions and sometimes even demands to change and improve our stuff, and I won't stop doing that because I think you, as VR gamers and enthusiasts, deserves the best possible solutions. So if there's anything I don't like, you will know it from me. Having that said, so far I'm very pleased with what I think of the Crystal Light. Let's start with the comfort and weight. This aspect really hit me from the first minute of using the Crystal Light. The headset is just significantly lighter in weight. No doubt. I feel that instantly on my head, and even when just lifting up the headset from the table. It is almost funny how your eyes and mind will fool you once you see something in the size of a crystal, you lift it up and it just feels unnaturally lightweight in a kind of weird way, at first at least. I still haven't got used to that yet. Without the battery and the removed internals, power cables and whatnot, I see no reason for anyone to complain about the weight anymore. Sure, some may say it still looks bulky and there are more lightweight headsets out there, but once it's on your head, it feels great and for sure it's not feeling bulky. I feel no front heaviness, it seems to have proper weight distribution and I can definitely tell it's well balanced front to back. The removal of the few components and features really made the trick to make it feel spot on in terms of comfort. Well, no, you cannot beat the laws of physics, I know, it's not weightless. And if I wobble my head quickly side to side, the headset will still wobble a bit out of nature. But it's definitely a noticeable improvement from before in this regard. Now, how about tracking? Crystal Light uses a new in-house developed inside-out tracking system based on the Crystal algorithms, but the tracking is managed on PC side and not by any built-in chipset as before. Inside-out tracking does track both the headset and the bundle controllers, of course, regardless of Crystal or Crystal Light version. At first, I was a bit unsure if tracking would live up to the Crystal standard. After all, the XR2 tracking that Pimax has developed has been heavily improved over the last 2 or even 3 years. Since it's kind of a new tracking system, I was worried to say the least. Now, to my surprise, the Crystal Light tracking is solid and feels more or less identical to Crystal's tracking. I did not encounter any jitter, no shaking and no drifting so far in my recent week of hardcore testing this unit. It clearly shows that the algorithm has been reused from the Crystal tracking system, since special movements and interactions such as hiding a controller behind the other gives identical result as with the Crystal. A very stable experience, but I do admit I am a picky enthusiast, so I have already forwarded some suggestions for minor improvements. I don't expect it to be 100% perfect upon launch in May, but honestly, it's really good already now in early April. I also experienced no latency issues and it's perfect for Beat Saber and other fast-paced games. Well, I'm definitely no Beat Saber expert, as you can probably tell, but it felt really solid using the inside-out controller tracking. I also tested Lighthouse faceplate for the Lighthouse-based tracking using 1 and 2 base stations. I cannot tell that much of a difference, to be honest, except for the feeling of using other controllers such as the Pimax Sword or Valve Index Knuckles. Now let's talk IPD adjustments. As I said already, this is manually made now with the scroll wheel. Once you set it right, you will forget about it simply. As long as you wear the headset correctly, there should be no reason to readjust the IPD unless others share the same headset with you. One important thing I realized instantly is that the manual IPD adjustment is way more precise on the Crystal Light than it is on the previous models such as the Pimax 8KX. Scrolling the wheel, you can easily adjust the IPD by small 0.1mm steps or something, and it's not as sensitive doing micro adjustment anymore. In fact, going from 58 to 72mm, it takes a while, to be honest. You also get the same on-screen overlay in the headset showing what IPD is set, together with some green lines to easier see if it's correct, and additionally the PC client also reports the current IPD value in real time. So how about the visual quality and performance? After all, these are the most important aspects, at least for me. If you already have a Pimax Crystal or at least have tried it, you know what to expect here. Identical crystal clarity as when using the Pimax Crystal flagship headset. The same ultra-high resolution of 2880 by 2880, extreme clarity thanks to the aspheric glass lenses from Crystal. For me, using Crystal Light feels like being at home, so to say, because except for the lack of eye tracking and hand position guidance, it all feels identical to how Crystal performs in terms of image quality and clarity. I see no screen door effect at all, and pixels are undistinguishable. Very high brightness levels, of course, thanks to the panels and the lenses, and great contrast and incredible black levels when using local dimming. You have probably heard all this by now from YouTubers, reviewers and viewer enthusiasts all around the world using the Crystal, well, for the past year, so I'm not sure if I need to do it again here. As for performance, since Crystal Light renders the same amount of pixel as the Crystal, then yes, it is requiring some serious power of your PC. You can of course, just like with Crystal, lower the render resolution to one of the available presets or adjust it manually to gain some extra performance. But if you still want to play at native resolution and you may worry about your GPU not being enough, there are certain ways to tweak the performance. Pimax PC client has a built-in DFR and FFR support, which is dynamic foveated rendering and fixed foveated rendering, which both can significantly increase the frame rate in most supported VR games and simulators. Pimax Crystal does have Tobii eye tracking built in, which supports DFR or dynamic foveated rendering. Pimax Crystal Light, though, on the other hand, does not, since this was the primary approach to cut the cost and make Crystal Light significantly cheaper. Now, without eye tracking, only fixed foveated rendering is possible with Crystal Light. This way, the foveated areas are fixed to the center of your view instead of dynamically following your eye movements. But that does not necessarily give you noticeably less performance. In fact, many VR games and even simulators can gain up to 25 or even 30% extra or higher frame rates just by enabling fixed foveated rendering. Even the two toughest of them all for the GPU and CPU, the Microsoft Flight Simulator and the Digital Combat Simulator, does show significant performance gains by enabling fixed foveated rendering while running OpenXR mode with Pimax XR runtime. Sometimes we see almost identical results to what DFR or dynamic foveated rendering can achieve. Also, with the introduction of Crystal Light, Pimax will release a new FFR 2.0 version that further enhances the features with performance and customizations. DFR and FFR 2.0 are probably the most important features for ultra-high resolution headsets such as the Pimax Crystal Light and the Crystal, as well as the upcoming flagship Crystal Super. Another way to improve performance and make your gameplay smooth is to use Smart Smoothing that you can quickly enable in the PC client. Smart Smoothing will let your games run at half the full frame rate while interpolating or frame generating the frames in between. That makes your VR experience feel smooth, just like you would be running at full frame rate. Additionally, you can limit the frame rate from 120 Hz down to 90, 72 or even 60 Hz, which of course requires less frames to be rendered per second, making your games or simulators run smoother. Having all that said, if you're mostly playing casual VR games such as Pavlov, Half-Life Alyx, Beat Saber, maybe those cool Unreal Engine VR modded games, or other mainstream VR games from Steam VR or the Oculus Store which aren't that GPU demanding, then you can easily get away running Crystal or Crystal Light with an RTX 3070 or even the RTX 2080 graphics card. Pimax is constantly working on the performance side to make improvements for the whole lineup of their VR headsets, adding various optimizations and new features. And while Crystal Light still uses the same ultra-high resolution panels, it does not mean you automatically need a top-tier GPU or CPU to enjoy your favorite VR titles at maxed out frame rates. Now again, the base version of Crystal Light does not include local dimming. That means the entire back panel is backlit uniformly without any backlight zones. The second version of the Crystal Light does include same local dimming panel backlight as the Crystal does. Local dimming does greatly help to improve contrast level and it brings out more popping colors, but mainly it's there to produce the true black levels and darkness when needed. Whether local dimming is valuable for you or worth adding to Crystal Light is hard to tell. It depends a lot of what you do in VR and how much time you spend in VR while being in dark environments. But if you ask me personally, as a VR enthusiast, local dimming is a must-have. Well, that's what I think. If you expect pitch black environments, if you plan to watch a lot of movies in VR, or if you play dark horror games or simulators, well, let's say you fly at night with your airplane, the blacks will get noticeably darker and literally true black with local dimming feature enabled. Now to the audio. The default SMAS speakers provides overall good audio for daily casual VR gaming. But of course, if you are more serious about audio and if you appreciate high-end audio, then over-the-air DTS certified DMAS speakers will definitely give you a richer sound with a higher peak volume, more clarity and bass. Both alternatives are identical to what Pimax Crystal already uses, and the audio quality has got numerous updates and improvements over the past year since well, Crystal was launched. I personally much prefer the DMAS audio, mainly because of the wider frequency range. Now, to round this up, you may see now why I'm really excited about the launch of the Crystal Light. It's basically the Crystal experience, the crystal clear experience I've enjoyed for more than a year now, but for almost half the price. It's insane that it's even possible today. And it's ideal for the average VR gamer that aims for the next upgrade maybe, or the Quest user that has a gaming PC and now wants the ultimate PC VR headset. No compromises on visual quality, lens quality or resolution. No matter if you go for local dimming or not, you are set for quite an amazing upgrade from your current headset. Because let's be honest here, there is no competition out there right now in terms of visual performance, especially within this price range. Alright, I hope you got some valuable information out of this pre-production sample preview of the Crystal Light. I will keep you updated and there is much more to come. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.